Hello and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News channel. Now, it's been pretty crazy, but we're actually up since the invasion started. We started the invasion, it dipped down to 35, and now we're back up at like almost $40,000, 39,500. It's pretty crazy. Now, I don't think because people are actually buying the invasion, but I do think it has to do with the Fed rates. Essentially, like the Fed rate hikes. The 50-point rate hike is definitely off the table for March. I still think they're going to do 25, but they might only hike it 3 or 4 times this year, as opposed to 7 or 8 times this year, and that will have great effect, or like great effect in giving the market some hope because they're not hiking the interest rates much. Obviously, the Fed has to consider that they don't want to like basically paralyze the economy by hiking too much interest rates during a war. So that's why I think that's actually up. Now, in like the tune of things, though, I don't expect this to go up too much more. Like I think there's a resistance at 40 and maybe at 42. We could actually pop above 40, but I'd be really surprised if we like raised into the mid 40s. However, on the 5 day, we are actually up, and I'm actually kind of optimistic going into the weekend because unless there's like some like really really bad news, like Russia technically nuked Ukraine's capital or something, it's a little hard for me to see any kind of news that would like plummet it down because the Fed could just abruptly change their mind, I guess, and decide to hike it 8 times again. But I just don't really think they're going to do that. And and stock markets, everything are actually holding. And crypto markets are actually coming back a little bit, especially in terms of Bitcoin. Now, I don't expect an altcoin surge because I think Bitcoin has to get past like 50,000, 55,000 for altcoins to really, really start surging. And I don't really see that for Bitcoin as long as this conflict is going on. I do think like this conflict will last a while. It seems like the Russian troops have gotten stopped a little bit outside of Ukraine, and they're having more trouble than usual. One story that I really heard was funny was like there was like these Ukrainian troops on this little island off of Ukraine. A Russian warship came by and demanded that they put down their weapons and surrender. And then the guy basically radioed back to the Russian ship, "F you, Russian ship," and the Russian ship promptly blew the guys up. Now they all died, but they were heroes of the country, and the president of Ukraine said they will be rewarded with basically what is equivalent to the Medal of Honor of Ukraine. So those guys were Chads. They died, but they died Chads. So I guess that's why Russia's finding firm resistance around Ukraine. Their supply lines are also stretched, but at the same time, there's big partisan resistance. And the thing is, like with Russia and Afghanistan, like they could actually get bogged down in urban warfare and guerrilla warfare. So this could actually drag on longer than we thought, which means gas prices are going to be up longer than we thought, which means like we're going to have to deal with some kind of inflation. So I can't really see a bullish market until we kind of get over that. Now, there is the other scenario that like, Russia, Ukraine, all these guys, they're actually going to, Russia, Ukraine, all these guys, they're actually going to try to like switch to cryptocurrencies and have to go underground. But Ukraine is about to lose internet connection, and many people in Ukraine are preparing to lose internet connection. So realistically, I don't know how good cryptocurrency is going to be. Russia could definitely use crypto to get around our sanctions. And I think the European Central Bank is trying to react to that, but I'm not really sure how successful they'll be. There's obviously good news for adoption elsewhere as Brazil and Mexico are considering making Bitcoin legal tender. So like generally, if it wasn't for this war, the fundamentals are actually pretty strong. But because of this war, there's so many things that are tenuous. You could have some Russian buying. You could have some like Euro repressive. I'm not really sure how that's actually going to work out. If you look at the overall chart for 3 months, you can tell that essentially like we were actually up here, and we were actually above where we were in January, about 1.5 months ago, before we dropped down at the end of January. But like towards the beginning of February, we were actually going up until this invasion. But you can see as the invasion actually started, we actually are slowly going back up. And the surprising thing is the low on the invasion isn't quite as low as the low like back in January. So like if you take the invasion out, I think we would have actually gone higher. That means there's actually bullish pressure on the market overall, but the invasion is just kind of suppressing it. So the thing is like, if there's bullish buying pressure on the market because people think that the prices are actually low right now, just the war going on may not affect Bitcoin. And if you really think about it, like the war affects energy prices, right? And the higher energy prices are, the higher mining costs are. The higher mining costs are, the higher Bitcoin has to be for it to actually be break even. And I don't think Russia's going to ban Bitcoin mining just because of the war. Ukraine's not a big player in Bitcoin mining anyways. So the thing is, I do believe there is actually like supplemental positive pressure on the market from a lot of people adopting, and that might actually keep us afloat during the war. I do expect us to go somewhat bullish this weekend, maybe even bullish this weekend, but next week is really anyone's guess. And the charts kind of like tell a similar story. It's very hard to say right now, but I do actually think like an equilibrium point's probably like upper 30,000s, lower 40,000s right now. If we can get past like 45 or 50,000, then we're definitely like looking more bullish. But with so many things that can actually happen in conflict, that's really, really hard to predict. If you actually look at technical analysis, the EMA for 10 is actually switched to buy because we went up the last 2 days. And unless like Putin pulls some massive operations over the weekend, I think it's going to be slightly bullish going into the weekend. People are still like reacting from the shock of an invasion. They're realizing that crypto is probably not going to be impacted too much from this invasion, so they might actually be buying back right now. The oscillators are neutral because it's been just going back and forth so much. So going into the weekend, we might be like just a neutral hold or slight buy. In terms of weekly, it's still all sell right now. The oscillators are neutral, and on the weekly, I really wouldn't like buy for like more than a couple of days right now because anything can actually come down. I wouldn't be shorting either though. I would still just be yield farming. I would actually say at this point there's probably more of an argument for buy than sell, but it's very, very hard to say because people, like I said, people have gotten over the initial shock. And if things actually go in a diplomatic direction, either because Russia can't push more into Ukraine because they're facing hard resistance, or the Ukrainians just want a diplomatic solution, and Moscow actually kind of like agrees with that, we could actually go up because of a resolution of the current problem. So I think there's a more argument for buy than sell right now on both the weekly and the monthly. But it's very tenuous based on world events. The oscillators don't say anything, but the oscillators can't really predict diplomacy anyways. The moving averages are generally sell on the weekly and monthly. And if this were not a war scenario, I would agree with that. But because it is a war scenario, and I think the conflict's going to last a while, I do think we're like slightly in the buy territory for right now. So I think like slightly in the buy territory for right now, but that could change at any moment with new news. But I do think people are actually kind of like turning back their reactions to the initial invasion, and that's very, very good news for cryptocurrency. So that's my view on it for right now. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.